my bedroom becomes their unique space. Now, I've got my computer, which I do my work on, and my games. Anyway, so I just switched it on this morning, and the dad of the house puts on music on the computer he paid for. With an electricity box, he put new units in so that he could listen to his music. And one of my children, I'm not naming names, I'm just saying, one of my children, they walk past my computer and just decides that song that is on my computer in my room on my house is not the one that I want to listen to. And he walks to that and he clicks next on the song and I lose it in that single. I don't even know why I'm telling you this moment, okay? But I just want to express the frustrating part of owning something, yet it's not yours. The frustrating part of liking music which they don't like, and they just next. It's not just next, it's my song and I paid for it. He even used a mouse with the beautiful blue colors on that I like, okay? And he just clicked next. Okay, any case. But that is the overwhelming burden of what it means to be a dad. You know, and you carry all these things, and maybe that's just a silly example, but we can take it as serious as you want to. But the concept remains is that we do things for our family many times at the cost of ourselves, and the challenge, it becomes overwhelming at times. Okay, and if you think I'm here to give you a hug and feel sorry, no, it's going to get worse. Okay, I'm going to slap you. Okay, so I want you to understand that, and this is where the challenge comes in, is because we do these things. And we don't always see progress and we don't always see results. On the contrary, the next day we open our eyes, the next set of responsibilities is on our shoulders, okay? I barely got them just to fold their own underwear and put it away, and now we have homework and projects and life skills and finances and all those things that you need to do when you're raising kids, and it becomes overwhelming because you don't see progress. But this is the challenge with progress, is that it's almost impossible to see progress in the short term. And so I find myself, and maybe this is just me, I find myself looking for long-term growth when I'm busy in the short-term planting stage. And it's not nice, it's not comfortable, because it's work, and it's tiring, and it's frustrating, and it costs the expensive price. And now what happens is I look for the long-term picture in the short-term work that I'm doing now. And now, because that long-term picture of perfection is not here, I just give up on progress, okay? And I lose my mind because he does not switch the song I put on my computer. It's my computer, okay? And you see, my kids aren't that old yet, but I've got a hunch that this character develops into larger things when we get older. So maybe now it's a computer, but as kids get older, they make life decisions, and you need to balance those things. Now, I can't speak when they're not there yet, but I can understand the frustration and the emotions of carrying burdens, trying to help and not having that results. I always complained about this when I was in church. I always felt people expected me at the age of 16 to make the healthy decisions my dad did on 45. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And sometimes as adults, we push down that mindset on our kids, but they can't make 45-year-old decisions when they are 16. They can't. They don't have the exposure. They didn't make enough mistakes. There wasn't enough things that went wrong for them to understand and grow and develop in that state. And that's probably part of the frustrating part, is being strength to your kids. And you're not seeing this long-term result. So it becomes overwhelming and it becomes frustrating. Now, why I'm talking about Philippians is not only is it the next book after Ephesians, but at the same time, I think Paul teaches us this idea about having a high-quality mindset in low-quality circumstances. And this is what Philippians speaks about. And what we're going to do is, as I'm talking about more specifically to dads today, I want to take these examples he's got in this book, and I want to apply this to our lives, okay? So this is going to be nice and beautiful. You're going to enjoy this part, okay? The slapping part I leave to the end, okay? Philippians 2 verse 20 says the following. Just pause quickly there. I'm going to highlight 3 individuals from this book, and I'm going to draw from them character traits that we can apply to our lives. For I have no one like him. This is Paul writing about Timothy, who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. Next one for me, please, 21. For they all seek their own interests, not of those of Jesus Christ. Next one for me, please. Now listen carefully. But you know Timothy's proven worth, how as a son with a father he has served with me in the gospel. So the first point that I want to take from this text for dads today, that's maybe in a season where you're frustrated that you're doing the work, you're not seeing the results, is this concept. Timothy, the proven son. Timothy, the proven son. Now, I just want to give a disclaimer uit, hierso, gou vinnig, that the next statement, it might not be true for everyone, but it does illustrate a principle. Okay, so I'm going to say this one more. So I'm not saying the next statement is going to be, you can't draw through to every single circumstances, because circumstances are completely diverse, but there's a principle. So even if you read the sentence and you feel, hey, that's maybe not true in my case, I want you to look past your individual circumstances and draw the principle from this. And that is this, that the best dads, they know how to be the best sons. Again, don't forget the disclaimer. I'm not criticizing you if you feel you've not been a good dad, a good son because you had a bad dad or whatever the case may be. By the way, can I just add this, and I've said this before, and this is a lesson that I'm currently learning in my own life as well, is that I can disagree with my mom and still honor her. But I was raised that disagreement means dishonor. Now, let me just explain to you. My parents didn't do a bad job, okay? There's a season in your life when disagreement means dishonor, okay? If I tell my son, you will eat your vegetables because this is healthy for you, disagreement is dishonor in that moment because he is 7 years old and I'm giving him an instruction for his own well-being, okay? For example, do not run across the road without looking twice. Disagreement in that season will mean dishonor because he's not listening to the good advice. But there comes a stage in our lives where now we become adults, we need to adapt our ideas, because when you were a child, disagreement means something else. But as an adult, it's something completely different. And so sometimes we need to make decisions in our lives that can contradict the desires of our parents. And this becomes very difficult because sometimes we don't want to dishonor our parents, but sometimes I need to make decisions for my life. Sometimes my mom will give me advice which I would not agree with, but that does not mean I'm not listening. That does not mean I'm not asking. That does not mean I'm looking for advice. I'm looking for input. And we need to be very careful. The transition between having school-going kids and having adults, and by the way, I don't have adult kids, okay, but I am a son myself, so I can speak from that perspective, is that there comes a stage in my life where I need to take responsibility for my own decisions. And that does not mean I'm dishonoring my mom. Especially for us, we are in business, okay? We work together. And so obviously we're going to have different ideas, different viewpoints. We're not going to agree on certain decisions. But I had to grow up to a place to say, I can disagree with my mom, but at the same time still honor her through every season, through this process. And so when it comes to this concept, I want you to understand that if you want to be a fantastic dad, the first thing that you can do is to become a fantastic son if you still have a father, and even if it's an adopted father or even just a spiritual father. You see, this is something my dad taught me. And says, if you can follow well, you build character that will help you to lead well. And so I never understood the advice until I had the privilege of leading. So when I look back, and it was quite simple. I tried to do what I was told. I tried to do it as far as I possibly can. Failed sometimes, seldomly, very few and far between. But I tried to do as the instruction comes in, I try to respond to that. So I was always looking for loopholes, by the way. But in any case, I was trying to. If the instruction was make sure your homework is finished, I made it finished, and then I would catch on the nonsense after the homework because the instruction was just get the homework done. It was done, okay. And then I got detention for social elements. Okay, but in any case. Julle ander almal kan hoor jy lag. Okay. But the problem is sometimes us young guys, we get arrogant. And we want to go above and beyond our fathers. We want to lead in positions where we can't even follow simple instructions. And so our dads know this. We know the burden it is to carry, to lead, to take responsibility. And you look at your young kids and all they want to do is just take up responsibility. Well, I don't think they want to take up responsibility. I think they want the freedom and the idea because they only see the nice things about leading or being a dad or whatever the case may be. But they don't understand the burden that is connected to that yet. And so as dads, we're trying to teach them like, listen here, man, I'm telling you to go to bed at 8 o'clock, not because I'm playing a power game, because I know what it feels like if you go to bed at 11, you have to write mathematics tomorrow morning. It's not a power game, it's an advice game. And all that they can think about is, I want to stay up until 11. And now that's probably a very silly example. But the concept comes down to this, that if they can follow the instruction well, I know that as they get older, they will be able to lead well because the discipline has been applied when they were younger. And so if we want to look at ourselves as dads, okay, I want to make the suggestion, we need to evaluate our effectiveness as a son first. Now, when I say being a good son, again, don't confuse being a good son with agreeing with your dad, okay, or your mother. Don't confuse being a good son with ignoring if they've got character flaws. This is not what I'm talking about, okay? You can still be a good son in a difficult situation. You can still be a good son even though when things are lacking. The point that I'm trying to make is that you are going to be, it can be, again, remember my disclaimer, it's not going to be true for everyone, but in most cases, man, your kids are going to pick up from you. Sometimes sorry if this is going to be too sensitive, but I don't mean this in a bad way, but sometimes I get to older people, you know, and let me take dads now, for example, and they sit in old age homes, and they complain that the kids are never there. And there are occasions where that is true. But when you speak to the children about how they were raised, sometimes some of those dads expect honor which they didn't earn. I know it's harsh. I know it's especially for my culture, because when you're disrespectful, you get a slap, okay? But I want you to hear my heart in this. I want you to hear my heart in this. You need to understand this, and my heart is going out to you because no honor was earned. No respect was earned. It was forced down. And now at the old stage, they desire honor, they desire respect, but it wasn't earned. Well, maybe this doesn't work in your family that way, but that's how it worked in my family. Where my grandfather, I've said this so many times, he uses the word, he lived a life to earn the respect of his kids. My dad, the same. He lived a life where he did his best to be honorable, okay? That doesn't mean he was friendly, okay? There's a difference. Don't confuse honorable with friendly, okay? He said what he said, and he smacked the way he smacked. But there's a sense of earning, you know. And so this relationship building becomes crucial. Now, why is this so important? Because your kids are watching you. They are watching you. They listen to the words you use when you speak to your parents. They look at how, and by the way, you might be nice on the phone, but your kids don't switch off when you switch off the phone. They listen to the conversation you had after the phone call that you had, okay? They sit in the kitchen over there, and sorry, I'm expanding on this so much, but this is the best piece of advice a young guy can give you guys is that, man, you be the best sons that you can be, because that molds the example that we can follow. And then just the disclaimer again, and please don't feel offended if you're sitting in an extremely difficult situation with parents where there's no relationship and things go bad. Those things happen as well, okay? I know people who are phenomenal dads, okay? And they've got broken relationships with their father. So please don't get me wrong with what I'm trying to express or trying to explain. This is just an example and an illustration of the concept that if you want to lead well, you need to make sure that you show your children what it looks like to follow well as well. Okay. Philippians 2, verse 25. And I practiced this guy's name so many times, I still can't say it. Okay. I have thought it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother. You can just end the sentence there. Just my brother. Just stop it there because that name. And fellow worker and fellow soldier. It's not shoulder. That's something else if you're Afrikaans. And your messenger and ministered to my need. Next one for me. For he has been longing for you all and has been distressed because you heard that he was ill. Next one for me, please. Indeed, he was ill, near to death, but God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. So the first guy we spoke to about, Timothy, the proven son. The next one we're going to talk about is that beautiful gentleman in the scriptures. And he's recognized as a sacrificial worker. A sacrificial worker. And what I draw, and the story goes like the Philippians sent him in order to strengthen Paul. But on his way there, or while he was there, he almost did not make it. And Paul is so thankful for his sacrifice that Paul writes that God did not save him just for him, but God saved him for my sake as well, because he was so influential. And I want you to pick up on this. The best dads show up quietly and consistently. I use the word quietly intentionally. Okay. Because some dads show up for their benefit. Some dads show up for what they can gain out of a situation. The problem with this is, us kids, no matter if you're young or old, we pick up on that extremely easily. We know when someone shows up for their honor and when someone shows up to cheer you on at the end of the day. And I know, again, maybe a little bit heavy conversation, but man, I warned you I'm going to sleep before the time, so I think I can just keep on. But it's not just about showing up quietly, but it's about showing up consistently. And I don't like talking about this because this is expensive as a dad. Okay, is that you risk comfort, but it's not about risking comfort to be seen how fantastic you are. You risk your comfort to be useful, and this is expensive because that means you show up sometimes and you don't get credit for being a good dad. Well, I'm not trying to insinuate that I'm a good dad and I'm not getting any credit for that. That's not what I'm trying to explain. But I'm trying to speak to your heart where you are working and you're not getting the results. You're making sacrifices and it feels like you're not being appreciated, or whatever the case may be, okay? Whatever the case may be. But that's the sign. According to Philippians, when you look at the story and we look at Epaphroditus and this fantastic, and he showed up for Paul, not for him to get honor, not for him to get glory, but he showed up in a situation where he was serving to the degree that it would cost him his life. And then when he got healed, he still hang around at the back of the... And in my opinion, if that is the form of the best dads. The best dads, they've got this supernatural, divine ability to show up consistently and quietly, and they become useful in your life. And now this kind of makes me take a hard look at myself, you know. Am I being useful in my kids' life? Or am I using my kids for me to get the benefit? Come on, I mean, most of us are adults here. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Where kids, and I'm talking about adult kids as well, where the relationship feels false. Where you only get a phone call when money is needed, or whatever the case may be. I don't mean this to make it negative or whatever the case may be. But I want you to understand this concept. So if we want to become phenomenal dads, there's a sacrifice connected to that. And nobody's going to give you a round of applause, okay? Sometimes you're still going to get onderbroeke and ties for Father's Day. Okay, we know you're tired of that, but you still get it in any case. It's just one of those things, you know. You do a fantastic project and your kid gets 90% and they give him applause. How does that work, man? Come on. I mean, do they know how many videos I had to Google to build that thing? And then there's no reference like, good job, Dad. It's just, oh, JJ, well done, okay? By the way, it's a mom that does a project. I'm just using that as an example. Sorry, Marina, nie daai doen. No, but come on. But there's no nice way to say this. And here's the thing, you know. I was having a conversation with someone in the week, and they was telling me about a couple of things, and it just pops up into my heart that, I mean, do your kids know how phenomenal you are? Do they know the sacrifices you make? Are they aware of the burdens that you carry for your family? And in my sense, sometimes we don't feel good enough, but other people are looking at you and thinking, man, I wish I had a dad like that. I wish I had a mom like that. Look at what they do for their kids. And you don't get applause because people don't walk up to you and say, fantastic. They think of this quietly on the inside. They're in the corner. But you guys are, the sacrificial worker in a dad. Mind-blowing, phenomenal. Philippians 1 verse 21. And this is Paul writing, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. Next one. If I'm to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me, yet which I shall choose, I cannot tell. Paul basically, you guys, it's a very famous part that he writes. He says, it's not about me so much. I don't mind passing away because then I get to be with Jesus. And then he says, and if I remain, I will still serve the church. It doesn't matter which way it goes. And he loves the idea of dying so much that he writes, he says, I'm not sure which I want to choose. If I had an option, which one I would choose, because I long to be with Jesus, but at the same time, I know that you guys need me here to make a difference and to make an impact as well, and to help you guys establish type of things. And it's kind of split between these two ideas. But the bottom line that I want to draw from Paul, and this is my last example, is this, that Paul was this faithful builder. In seasons, listen carefully to what I'm going to say to you now, okay? Again, maybe this might not sound comfortable or might not sound popular, but this has been true in my life. Even in a position where Paul comes, where he desires to pass on, he refuses to do so for the sake of the people around him. Can I speak about my dad for 1 second, okay? And this was something, I saw my dad as he was deteriorating. We stayed with him the last couple of months before he passed away. And every time when we speak to him about these things, he just said this thing. He says, he's going to fight as long as he can to stay alive as long as he can. And I'm sitting there, and this is going to be free therapy. This is going to be an honest conversation from my son. And I just sat there and I wonder, why would you do this to yourself, okay? Don't get me wrong, I'm not heartless, but I saw the suffering, I saw the pain, I saw the blood, sweat, and tears. Literally, I was there. And I'm just thinking, why? Why? And every time he comes back to this place, and he's got this idea of being there for his family. His biggest concern in this is that he didn't want to leave his family behind to fight battles. He didn't want to leave them over to this world while he could still fight someone. Yeah, my dad just likes slapping people. I don't know what's wrong. Okay, he doesn't stay here for food. He doesn't stay here. Of course, he likes his car. He stays here because he want to fight with someone. Okay, but that's the essence that it is better with Paul as well. It's better in a position where they desire something better for themselves, but they refuse it for the sake of the people that they love. And they build into the people that they love consistently, even when it is difficult. And this is, I don't want to say mind-blowing, but this is the truest form and the truest form of honor and character that I see in men. Maybe not all of us, I'm not looking for a compliment for me personally. I'm just talking about, there are some phenomenal guys, and you guys are here. There's some phenomenal guys that can tell me phenomenal stories about the sacrifices you make for your family. And I'm here from my side I want to encourage you in a community where we are suppressed, in a time where and there's a lot of bad things that happen out there. I don't take away from that at all. But let me tell you, gentlemen, there are some of you that are doing fantastic job and nobody's giving you honor. Nobody's giving you credit. Nobody's putting their hands together. And from my side, I want to say thank you for being phenomenal dads. Thank you for not choosing the easy path. Thank you for hanging around. Thank you for taking up the battles. Thank you for your protection. Thank you for doing what you are doing selflessly. You are phenomenal. There's no words that can describe this thing. And maybe you feel weak, but I want to tell you here today, it's not weakness, it's immeasurable strength. You know what is weakness? Why you feel weak? Because the weak dads aren't there anymore. The weak dads, they left. I'm sorry if this feels too personal, but just bear with me for a second. Just allow me to share my heart. Because it's difficult, but you are there. It's tough, but you are there. It's frustrating, but you are there. There's conflict, but you are there. You keep on building even when it's difficult. Now, enough compliments. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you feel edified. I hope you feel uplifted. Because now it's some smacking time, okay? Because we need to finish, okay? I saw this in this week. It's a build up to Father's Day, and some gents, guys, you are milking it too much, okay? So what I'm trying to say is that they put up these beautiful pictures. You know, there's a small lion, a big mirror, and when they say look into the mirror, there's this massive lion with a big crown on their head, and they say, remember, you are a prince of the king, okay? You guys know what I'm talking about. I can't say what I was thinking, okay, because I will tell my family that. But I want to address it. I want to talk about this quickly for a second. I want to call this the prince mentality. The prince mentality. So just be with me for a second. Is that it's this idea that we wake up in the morning, we look into the mirror, and we tell ourselves, I'm a prince of the king. I'm fabulous. I'm fantastic. That's the furthest I can get. Okay, so you are just phenomenal. But you know what? I want to draw from this idea, and I want to just slap you, and you're going to see your grandma run somewhere. I don't know, something in Afrikaans. It's going to hurt, and you're going to see your grandma. But in any case, the idea is that you can go to the next one. It's spiritual daydreaming. Okay, I just told you, okay, about the phenomenal examples that's been given to us, the phenomenal sacrifices. But then I say, and sorry guys, this is going to sound very, very bad and sound very harsh, but I just want you to bear with me. Spiritual daydreaming. In other words, we sit on the couch and we think about ourselves as a king the whole day, but there's no fruit. We want to be kings in our thoughts, but not in our actions. Okay, look at the thing. We want to carry a crown without the responsibility. And so, gentlemen, can I just challenge you, okay, on this? We've given you examples, and gentlemen, there are many people in this building that I personally know that falls into this first category of doing phenomenal things for your family and your kids, okay? So I'm not trying to pick on you, but I do need to mention this, is that stop just daydreaming nonsense. Can I say this? Great men aren't just dreamers, they are achievers. We live in a time where this statement is offensive. Not when you guys were smaller, okay? Well, it changed probably in my generation, but there was no participation awards. You didn't get a reward just for showing up, okay? Feelings didn't matter much. It's either first, second, or third. If you're fourth, try again next time, okay? Just cope with it, okay? It's just how it was, okay? And the problem with my generation is it's you know what it is? It's arrogance. You think higher of yourself than you are worth. It's arrogance, okay? You can't be a king over here only. You are like a spoiled prince that sits under the sacrifices that's been built by someone else, eating the grapes, claiming greatness, but you are not doing nothing for no one. So what happens in this instance is that it's not just about dreaming, but great men, they achieve things. Now, I'm not pushing you down, okay? What I'm trying to say is that you have a track record of what you did for your family, the sacrifices that you made, the challenges, the amount of times you went to look for work, the times you tried something, you read books, you built into yourself, you educated yourself, you did a million things, and you've got a track record. But I want to warn the younger guys amongst us, including myself, be careful of arrogance. Be careful of the trend where we encourage one another but we don't do anything. That is not what a God-fearing man is supposed to stand for. And so I can't say I hope this is not harsh, because it is harsh, but I want you to get this. Is that I want you to change, and this is my last slide, is that I want you to change your mirror for a window. And again, I want to draw this from my dad, okay? There was occasions where he put on his church suit and his tie, and he would look in the mirror and look if he's looking reg for church. There was those occasions, okay? But my dad's character was this, is that even though he wanted to look nice, okay, he was always looking through the window on who is in need so he can jump in and change circumstances. He was always looking through a window. He wasn't looking at himself in a useless manner where, look how beautiful I am, look how well dressed I am, I'm a prince of the king, I'm fabulous, I'm fantastic. No, if you want to be fabulous and fantastic, swap the mirror, stop looking at yourself, get a window, and then look for opportunities, because there are people in your family that need your strength. And you're going to miss your calling if the only thing that you want to do is look at yourself how fantastic you are. Sometimes you've got to get up and do something. Sometimes you've got to get up and put in some effort. Sometimes you have to make the sacrifice. And so this idea that I just want to address is be careful of a prince mentality that leans towards spiritual daydreaming, but have substance where you can show your track record, where you showed up. Where you showed up at your cost, where you showed up and it was a burden for you to carry, where you showed up in the strength. I can remember this occasion, and there was a significant occasion for me in my life, is that this one morning, I was just about to drive to church. I was going to minister. My dad was at home, and my dad had a seizure. I'm not sure if he fell off a large step or whatever the case may be, but he cracked his skull, okay? Some of you can probably remember the time. He fell so hard. I mean, a lot of his teeth and stuff was also broken. And I can just remember I can't remember. I think my mom tried to phone me. I didn't answer because I was scared she's going to ask me to do something. And so when my sister phoned, I knew, hey, I need to really pick up, okay? And so I pick up the phone and drive through and I help. And that was a significant moment and a shift in my mindset where my dad was always the one who was leaning on me, okay? Sorry, let me rephrase, apologies. I was always, sorry about that. I was always the one leaning on my dad. I was always the one requiring his strength. I was always the one that I was scared I would go to him. But here was a moment where the dependency was turned around. And I had to put whatever is happening in my life second, and it wasn't even a sacrifice at all. I would do it in a heartbeat without a doubt. Never. I would do it over and over again. Driving through, and I can remember that feeling. It was a strange feeling of now showing up for the person who always showed up for me. It was a scary feeling because I could always rely on his strength, but now that strength wasn't there anymore. And now that strength was relying on what he has built into me in that moment. By the way, I wasn't there. Leandra and Christy was also there. I'm not like I'm a superhero or anything. Like our entire family was there, and we helped and sorted. And I can remember this I'm going to conclude this as my dad was on his final days. I can remember he wanted to walk in his garden. I think it was the last 4 days before he passed away. And I could pick my dad up in both my arms. I could hold my dad in my arms, like a small little child. And there were occasions where he wanted to walk in the garden. I just hooked him up. And I literally carried my own dad in my... And it was just this phenomenal experience for me because even though my dad lost a lot of weight and he was ill and he was weak, my eyes did not see that in that sense, okay? It was only when I saw pictures of us that I realized I'm bigger than him. I'm stronger than him. I'm healthier than him. But when my son's eyes were looking at him, he was always the strong guy. He was always the leader. He was always the guy I relied on. And then this slow shift took place. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make this sad or downhearted at all. I'm trying to tell you a personal story about this beautifulness of when a dad becomes phenomenal and he builds into his sons. It can be spiritual, it can be biological, it can be adopted, it doesn't matter. But he builds into the people around him. Because there comes a time where you don't have your strength anymore, you don't have the abilities anymore, but now all you have left is the fruit of what you have planted in the lives of others. And that becomes the ultimate test on whether you have been a good dad. What is left after your season is done? This is not pushing you down, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you've got beautiful legacies, okay? You've got beautiful sacrifices. This is not an insult, okay? This is an encouragement. This is a word of saying thank you. This is a word for telling you that you guys are, this is not spiritual daydreaming. This is proof on paper, like what you do to the very end, to building into the people around you that you love unconditionally. I hope that you will bear with me for one more moment. Kan jy graai boek vir my bring asseblief? Again, it's not my intentions to make things unnecessary, emotional or anything like that, okay? Patrick just said, ons is manne. I'm going to say this in Afrikaans. My son has got always a saying at home. I don't know where it comes from. Manne skud hande. Okay, it says men shake hands. My son, they said on their own. Okay, so they say men don't hug. He says he's got this rainbow. Men don't hug. Men don't do the manne skud hande. Hello, Papa. Okay. So it's not about being emotional, but in honor of my dad. Unfortunately, this is our I think this is our second Father's Day without my father. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But I want to leave. So I think I've done this before. But his book is coming out in next month, and I just want to read a short little section I wrote at the end of the book, and I just want to share this with you, and I hope that this will inspire you to become the phenomenal dads that we are called to be, and then I'm going to conclude. It's entitled, If I Could Speak to my Dad Today, and it says the following. I can recall a time in the past how we got to celebrate Father's Day with you. You never wanted us to make a big fuss about it, but yet I knew you were proud of having the title Dad. We might not have always expressed our love and respect for you with our words around the table, but we did our best to show it to you in our actions. We knew that you were our strength and pillar. Soon came the time where I became a dad myself. Suddenly, I could sit around the table with you and understand what it means to be a man and a leader too. It was not so much now about just giving honor to you directly, but it became my responsibility to earn the respect of my kids, just as you did and your dad did before you. At one point in my life, I got to celebrate you as my dad for the first time, but today marks the first time I spent Father's Day without you. We miss you, all of us. This is, obviously I wrote that this was written, actually it was about the first Father's Day after he passed away. But we want you to know one thing. You may not be here any longer, but the work that you have started continues. As a family, we are committed to your legacy. As a church, we are following the example you modeled for us. Our Father's Day gift to you is still the same one we try to give you every year. We will show our love and respect for you with our actions. Happy Father's Day, Dad. And I hope that peace inspires you. My dad never got to read that poem. Oh, it's not really a poem. My dad never got to read that section. He never got to read that section. It was written after he passed away. It was written after he's not here anymore. But what it did was so significant that you guys see it next to you here today. It's part of this legacy of actions that when he was alive, of love while he was alive, of example when he was alive. And I'm not saying he was perfect. I'm not saying everything was fantastic. I'm telling you that he did more than enough, that there's a community still drawing from the examples that he left, still benefiting from the sacrifices he made. And that is the example of being a phenomenal dad. From my side to the dads today, thank you for what you do. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your example. I know there's not a lot of honor. There's not a lot of hand claps. There's not a lot of pictures on a wall or whatever the case may be. But you guys do not realize the significance of your stability and your strength. And even though you might feel weak, and even though you might feel tired, never forget, we are watching you. We are learning from you. And your strength means the world to us. The reason why we are standing is because we're standing on your shoulders, and we are standing on your strength. So from our side, from our church's side, thank you for the examples that you guys are leaving for us. Let's pray together. Father, as we conclude this morning, we just want to surrender our hearts to you and say thank you for your faithfulness and your goodness. Father, we want to honor each and every dad in this place, Father. Father, sometimes we get overwhelmed internally Sometimes we get scared internally, but when we walk out to meet our families, we clothe ourselves with strength and we clothe ourselves with honor, and we stand where we need to stand, Father. We lead where we need to lead. Father, I want to pray for each dad that feels discouraged in this moment, that feels that things are getting a little bit tough, things are getting a little bit rough. Father, I pray that your Spirit would strengthen them, Father. May this message be a message of hope to them. May they not give up. We know that the burden is heavy, Father, but you have blessed us with divine strength to be able to carry that burdens for our families, Father. So may you bless each dad, Father. May they not be prone to the lies of insignificance, Father, but may they realize that they play a crucial role in their families. Thank you for your goodness in our lives. Thank you for giving us this beautiful example out of Philippians on what we can do to apply these beautiful principles in our lives. Thank you for your goodness. We pray that in Jesus' name. And together we say, Amen.